Hey guys, Cory again. I am going through some more Imagine AI stuff today, and this is Nikolaj Klemke. That is from, it doesn't say here. He said, he's how to bootstrap an AI company. He's using AI to actually help him bootstrap an AI company. Nikolaj Klemke from NeuroFrames. Let's see what he has to say here. And that's young Spielberg leaving the stage there. Anyhow.
Welcome to the stage, Nikolaj Klemke.
Wow, what a venue, what an event. Thank you very much. I'm Nikolaj Klemke. I'm the founder of an AI animation platform called NeuroFrames. And today we heard a lot about how AI will enable this and that. And I would like to share the story today how NeuroFrames came to be, because I think it is a good example of how AI can help build an AI company. This thing I need. But let's take a step back.
It's an interesting thing, AI building an AI company, and we're seeing some of that. It's very, very interesting that we're getting to the point where it's like building itself to a degree. Very interesting.
I studied physics in Berlin. I'm a physicist. Never really loved it, to be honest. During my studies, I did a lot of music on the side, and this is what I really loved. I couldn't stop. Like I thought always about which rap I would write and stuff, and I had a band and everything cool. And back then already, I was confronted with a problem that musicians have, and that is for every song that you make, you need some kind of visual content to go along with it, right? So let's take this example. I made a song. This was actually the first song I ever made where I made 100% myself. So I wrote the lyrics, I made the beat, I recorded it, I mixed it, I mastered it. And I was very proud of it because it was good lyrics and it was commenting on recent political events back then. And then I thought, cool, I would like to publish this somewhere, but on YouTube, what should I upload with it, right? So I needed to have a music video, but a music video is incredibly hard to get. So what I did, I sat down one afternoon and drew these three figures and kind of had them dissolve over time. And for the scrappy music video, I was still kind of proud of it because it was my music video. But I guess the 670 clicks in 11 years say maybe the video or the song wasn't the best. Anyways, I finished my studies and thought of what to do next. I applied for some jobs. I was actually all the jobs I applied to, so I thought, okay, I got to do a PhD. Did a PhD, worked in laser labs like this, did experiments, and also had some cool results with these measurements that I was doing, and then started doing simulations to try to understand the experiments better than I did. And actually that was a turning point in my life because I discovered that I really, really like programming. I really, really enjoyed this programming, and kind of regretted that I didn't start it earlier somehow. And this was shortly after a paper had come out, and I don't know how many of you are aware with this paper, or at least that this paper exists. Attention is all you need by the Google team, right? So just to put this into perspective, you've heard of the DNA, right? There's been a paper by Watson and Crick in the 50s where they say that the DNA is a double helix structure. This paper has been cited 5 times as much as the double helix paper by Watson and Crick of the 50s.
Wow.
This means probably more that today there's more papers being published than back then, but it is to show that this paper has been extremely influential in the AI space because it introduced the transformer architecture, which is underneath the whole LLM hype that we have these days. Yeah? So all of the large language model use the neural network architecture that was presented here. Oh, there's an auto power off on my monitor. Okay. So that got me interested in this topic, and I just as a hobbyist tried to get into this field a little bit, and as every good hobbyist that goes into this field, the first project I did was I tried to predict prices on the stock market. Didn't work out, I'm still here.
Yeah, everybody does that.
But then in December
I just wanted to report
2022,
them.
I started playing with Stable Diffusion. And how many of you know what Stable Diffusion is? Okay, maybe half. So Stable Diffusion is an AI, you would call it today. I don't know why the N is like that. It's an AI, you would call it today, where you put a text and you get an image out. And it's the same as Midjourney or DALL-E, if you're familiar with that. The difference is that Stable Diffusion is open source. So the model architecture and the model weights, the numbers that make up this AI, are completely open. And we heard in the Grok talk earlier that where Mistral and Llama were used for the LLMs, this is kind of the equivalent for image generation.
I don't know. I don't think I've heard of that one. Very interesting. One of the things to note here, these presentations, for some reason, when they were putting them up on the screen, it was wrapping some of the characters around just whatever they were using to process them. So it's not really his fault.
The fact that Stable Diffusion was open source sparked a wave of intellectual creativity. People were playing with this AI a lot and came up with very novel ways, because if you give developers a tool, they will play with it and they will find out cool stuff.
Yes, they will.
I would just like to highlight two things that people did with Stable Diffusion. One is, you can show Stable Diffusion, you can fine-tune Stable Diffusion. You can fine-tune any neural network, right? But because Stable Diffusion was open source, it was easy to fine-tune it. So there's a method where you can show this AI 10 to 20 images of something, for instance of myself, back when I still had glasses and didn't have laser surgery yet. And then you can teach Stable Diffusion here. This is Nico, even though Nico is not contained in the data set. You can do this with any object, with any person, even with styles. This was cool. And I think the first person to really make a product out of this was Peter Levitz, famous solopreneur, indie hacker, digital nomad. And he was very early. In November 2022, he tweeted that he just sold $100,000 of AI avatars like these ones in 10 days. Yeah.
Wow.
Then, of course, this got dwarfed by an app called Lensa AI, which in December 2022 alone made $30 million in revenue. And I think this was a tiny team just with these AI avatars, just with this technology. And as it often is in AI, there's a hype and everybody's like, whoa, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And then people get kind of bored by it. But then
Look at that drop right there, 1 month long.
people start building actual products out of this and solve actual problems. And this technology is being used now for lots of different tasks, and they're all very interesting. Now, Stable Diffusion can also be used for something else. Stable Diffusion can generate images from text, but it can also generate images from images. This is called image to image, not text to image. So you feed in an image and also a text, and you get an image out. And now smart people have looked at this and thought, what if we did this? What if we feed the image that comes out back again into Stable Diffusion as an input? And now you can wrap this into a loop, and what you get is an image to image to image to image to image pipeline. And if you have a lot of images in sequence, what do you have? An animation or a film, a movie. Now, in December 2022, I played with these two things, the fine-tuned models, and this wrapping Stable Diffusion image to image to image to image in a loop. And now the code I wrote for this is trivial. This is 4 lines of code or something. Probably the most symbols in this code are the prompt. By far, actually. And then you can generate these types of animations. I guess by now, many of us have seen these types of animations, but in December 2022, there were people doing this already. I don't want to take credit for it, but it was still kind of new. And you can change the prompts, right? So you can make this person laughing. You can change the prompt. You can say now the person should become older, should have gray hair. The background should be now a sunset on a grass meadow, something like this. The person should become sad, right? Should be really, really sad. Should maybe the head should even disappear, close its eyes, and all these things. Now this blew me away. I had a lot of fun creating this animation, and I showed this to people. Can you believe that I made this and stuff? And it was so easy to create this animation. And so I thought, okay, this is my time now. There was no platform to create these types of animations back then. And then I thought I have to build this and put this technology into the hands of the people. I didn't really have a clear use case in mind. And actually, a lot of startup consultants will say, and Steve Jobs was he's not a startup consultant, but he did say in the past once, as a startup founder, you should never start from the technology, should always start from a problem. But I was the opposite. I started from the technology, I loved it, and I wanted to build something for this technology. Now what followed were 7 very intense weeks of me not doing anything else than coding, and mind you, I'm a physicist, I have no idea of code, so but it was, ChatGPT had just come out, and so I had the browser window of ChatGPT in the one half of my monitor, and the code editor on the other. And I'd never built a front-end project like this. I had no idea of React, and I just literally typed into ChatGPT, hey, I want to build a timeline of a video editor in the browser. If you click in this timeline, something should happen there. And then you spat something out, and then you try it. It doesn't work. But iteratively, it gets there. And I think it would have taken me 3 times the time. Probably I would have needed to read a book about React first before even starting to code without ChatGPT. Right, the first version of NeuroFrames, by the way, the name also came from ChatGPT. The first version launched in January 2023. And you could say, wow, Nico, what a beautiful mobile design. But no, this didn't work on mobile. It's just like this because I didn't know how to put things next to each other properly. Right, this got some interest by some people. There was a post on Hacker News and on Reddit that got some attention, actually. And lots of people reached out, and I tried to speak to all of the customers, which were not that many, but already enough to get some data. And I tried to find out what these people were interested in doing, and there were all kinds of people. People that wanted to visualize their dreams, some writers who want to visualize their stories, musicians that wanted to make music videos, a barkeeper that wanted to have animations on his website. And so I continued building it, and then I thought it would probably be good to focus on one use case. And so I picked the use case that I knew the best, and that is creating easy, nice animations for your music video, for your song. Right, and this is what so the platform grew and grew, and this is what it looks like today. It's still kind of scrappy, built by myself, but now we have also a proper front-end developer working full-time on making everything nicer. I'm very happy to announce that. It looks like that, so there's a timeline on the x-axis. If you're familiar with video tools, that will be very familiar to you. You have different elements. We heard in the talk before by Young Spielberg of stem separation of the music. We also have that. So you upload a song, it gets separated into its components, snare, kick drum, bass, and stuff like that. And then you can modulate parameters of the video creation. Based on certain components of the song. Now, NeuroFrames has grown. I think there has been, since a year, there has been something like 120,000 registered users. Now it's a freemium model, not all of them pay, but still, lots of people come to the site every day, and lots of people make music videos. And I would now like to reflect a little bit on what it actually is that these artists make on this platform. So
I think I'll stop there or pick up on the next video, but it's very interesting that he took this thing from something that he, in a very short period of time coded in his bedroom, and then, led up to, this state that it's in right now, and he's on stage. And he talks about stuff that's way back in time and some other things like that. But the time, the very first one 2 years ago, you're not talking like things are 10 years ago. This is just, 2-3 years ago, max. And these platforms are just coming out at a breakneck speed, breakneck rate. So once again, implementing AI in your business, super, super important. And it is, some areas that were reserved for other people, other artists or something like that, just other businesses. It's now you can do this stuff yourself. They can make some, like, this chipmunk with the dollar bill doing a music video. Anyhow, look forward to the next part of it.